Have you ever asked yourself, where's my abundance? You hear people talking about their abundance. You hear people teaching on abundance. Abundance is here, abundance is there. See abundance everywhere. But when you look at your life, when you look at your finances, it's like, where is it? Not seeing it. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 specific things that you absolutely have to know and have so that your abundance will flow like a river in your life. Let's get into it. It's your favorite Dr. Honey, Dr. Faith Abraham, and welcome back to the channel, the place where we get your mind right, your spirit right, and your money right. In this video, we're going to talk about the 3 main biggest obstacles that we all face when it comes to abundance. And here is the thing. I know some people will feel like, well, I'm better than this people, and I'm better than that people, and what have you, and you have these different ideas about who should have abundance and who shouldn't have abundance. But I'm here to tell you that as human beings made in the image and likeness of God, whether we acknowledge God or not, we are made from abundance because abundance has created us. Marinate on that a little bit. And so when we're not seeing abundance in our lives, what's actually happening is there is an opposition. There is this unseen, invisible mountain that is hindering us. And once that mountain is removed, cast away, put aside, then we can now get to the abundance that we know we're supposed to have, we know we're supposed to enjoy, we know is meant for us. So the first thing when it comes to being abundant is your belief system. If your belief system is not in agreement, is not in alignment with abundance, then you will not see it. A lot of people mistake the fact that, oh, well, I don't have it in my life, so that must mean it doesn't exist. No. That's a lie. That is jumping to conclusions. That is operating in absolutes. There's very, very few things in the world that actually operate on absolutes. Just because you don't see it in your life doesn't mean that it's not real. Just because you haven't enjoyed it or you haven't tapped into it doesn't mean that it's not real. What's actually happening is your belief system is not in agreement with abundance. And therefore, what your belief system is going to do is continually give you things that are in alignment with what you actually believe. So if you believe that abundance is for certain people and you're not part of that certain people, then you won't have it. If you believe that abundance is not of God, then you want to be godly, then you won't have it. If you believe that it takes being a bad person to be abundant and you want to be and perceive yourself, believe that you are a good person, then you won't have it. Your belief system literally dictates everything that you see, that you experience, that you have in your life. I dare say a lot of people limit God in their lives because their belief system is not in agreement with God's word and with God's mind and with what God believes and feels about us. And so we're only going to allow what is in our belief system to make itself show forth in our lives. So if you are not seeing abundance, then you have to check your belief system. Where did you learn that? Who told you that? What proof do you have? Because maybe you may not have abundance in your bank account right now, but you see someone else is giving you proof that abundance is a real thing. What is hindering it from being a real thing for you? You have to ask these questions. You have to really seek out what's in your heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. One of the ways that I love to reiterate and reinforce into myself that abundance is everywhere is when I go hiking and I see the plethora of trees and I see the water and the rivers and I'm in Georgia and there's like bites if I forget to take bug spray, right? I'm like, oh, look, an abundance of bugs, like abundance of mosquito bites. There's abundance there. And you might feel like, oh, that is so silly. I would never do that. However, when you start acknowledging the abundance that's right in front of your face, it now allows your belief system to open up and then believe for abundance in other ways, in other places, and particularly in your life. The second thing that stops abundance from coming to you is literally the story you tell yourself. I'm not talking about the things that people tell you. I'm talking about what you tell you. I had a client, and one of the things that we worked on with the person was they were always finding ways to beat up on themselves for a situation that they found themselves in. And they were telling themselves that they deserved it. They were telling themselves that this is, just how it is. And, it's probably because they did this and they did that. And, since they can't change the past, it's always going to be like this. And how did I figure out that that was the story they were telling themselves? Well, I figured it out through what they were saying. I figured it out by listening to the conversation that we were having. And by me listening, I was able to detect that, wow, you keep beating up on yourself. You keep telling yourself this story that you deserve to be punished. And so through your thoughts, you are punishing yourself. But when you punish yourself, where is the end of the punishment? My client didn't know. They didn't even realize they were telling themselves a story. I said, okay, now that you realize it and you agree that this is the conversation that you have within yourself, what's next? When is the punishment over? If you send your kids to timeout, they're there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right? Okay, so once they're out, what happens next? Once you've punished yourself enough, which is not necessary, but once you've punished yourself enough, what's next? Where do you go from there? See, the story that we tell ourselves has everything to do also too with our belief system and how we act. Never forget T, thoughts, emotions, actions. And the thoughts that you think the most of, they're going to facilitate a emotion, which is thereby going to cause you to take certain action. And that beating up on himself was facilitating action that did not get the results that he wanted. So we started to change the story, and we started to change it, not negating responsibility, hear me out, but rather, okay, now that that has taken place, you're taking responsibility. What's next? Well, what's next is I'm responsible. I own up to my stuff. I am taking this step to make things right. Boom. Now, even as we were talking about it, and even as you're hearing me say this, right? It's like, oh, that feels more powerful. That feels more bold. That feels more abundant. So the story that you tell yourself is either going to trigger an emotion of abundance, a feeling, a sentiment of wonder, power, ability, dominion, authority, or it's going to trigger other type of emotions. Now, which set of emotions do you think is going to get you closer to abundance? The next thing, and number 3, is your identity. And it's not the identity that anyone else has of you. It's the identity that you have of yourself. Now, granted, there are things that you've heard throughout your life, that you've been through, you've experienced, and it made you feel a certain way about yourself. And so you've based the way you see yourself and how you feel about yourself, and you've thereby created your identity around those things. But sometimes things happen in our lives not because they were meant to happen, but because it was an opportunity for us to decide, do we want more of that or do we want less of that? And so when it comes to who you think you are you someone who is opinionated? Is that a good or a bad thing? Are you someone who can dress to the nines? Is that a good or bad thing? Are you someone who you feel like you're overweight? Is that a good or bad thing? Do you love your body? Do you love how you look? Do you love, the experiences that you've had and the things that you've been able to do in life? All of those things play into how we see ourselves. So if you see yourself as, someone who is loving, that is kind, that appreciates justice, that, is empathetic, and those are all attributes of yourself that are good according to your belief system, then you're going to have a higher identity of yourself, and thereby the results that you have in your life are going to line up with how you see yourself. But if you see yourself as broken, not worthy, low self-esteem, hurt from things that have happened to you, maybe you've never gotten an apology for things that people have done to you that hurt you really bad, and so you just feel like bad things always happen to you and you just don't know when things are going to look up, that plays into your identity. When we're speaking about abundance, you have to identify yourself with abundance. That's why when I started the video, I said that as a human being created in the image and likeness of God, abundance is your birthright. You are literally made from abundance. That's how I see myself. And so I was sharing my perspective with myself to you. So if you accept that and you allow that to become a part of your identity, and I'll tag a video that I have that'll show you the steps that you need to take to really begin to shift and change how you see yourself. That internal shift of your identity will dictate how much income you make, the opportunities that come to you, the type of people that find you, so on and so forth. All of those things, that creates your identity. And the identity that you have is what will now create the life that you live. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button, because there's somebody else that needs to hear this, and they don't realize that abundance is for them. Even though they don't see it, they know it's true, and they need to hear this. So make sure you subscribe, and hit the like button, because that lets YouTube know that this is a good video that other people should get and hear and be exposed to. So I appreciate you for doing that. And then here's my question for you. Of those three things, which one of those three do you need to work on that you realize has caused and been that invisible mountain, that obstacle standing in between you and abundance, so we can push that mountain to the side and tap into the abundance that so rightfully belongs to you? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to chat with you more. And the next video that is being loaded up, I just know you're going to love it. So I'm going to see you in the next video, because abundance belongs to you. It's yours. It's out there. And just because you have it doesn't mean that there's not enough to go around. This earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. He is abundant. He's a big God. He is great. So that means there's abundant, great, big, a lot for all of his children to enjoy. So let's enjoy it. I'll see you in the next video.